Medicare supplements and knew that there had to be a better way. My God, there had to be a better way. Early on, he had success using social media to generate leads, even though a lot of people said there was no way he could do this because of the people that he was selling to were not on social media. He did it anyway and wrote 72 policies in 1 week during the annual enrollment period in 2016. In 2018, he started documenting his journey on Facebook through a Facebook group called Medicare Gurus that has grown to over 5,000 members. He now has 2 offices, fully staffed, and is crushing it in the Medicare beneficiary game. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor today to introduce to you first-time guest on the Insurance Guys podcast, Mr. Justin Brock. How are you, Justin?
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm doing wonderful. This is entertaining just being here, and I feel like I've always listened to you guys, and now I'm like watching you tell these stories live. It's pretty surreal.
You know what's absolutely gold? What's absolutely gold is and it's like this on every episode, is the 5 minutes before we start recording and the 5 minutes after. A lot of times those conversations, which a lot of them can't be made public, those conversations are just as good and just as entertaining as the actual show.
Oh, yeah.
I think people wanting me to die of anal cancer is pretty entertaining.
Anal, that's the scientific term.
Exactly. Justin, I got so many questions, but before I get to you, Bradley Flowers, Please tell us the funny story that happened just a few minutes ago between podcasts.
So we were between podcasts, and I walked out, and we're in this new office, right? And the first day we worked in here for the new year, which was Monday, which was January the 4th. We're recording this on the 6th, which just reminded me I got to do something this afternoon. Anyway,
Squirrel.
The first day back, we had a water leak in the office. Our internet went down bad, and I smelled smoke in my office. And it was just an all-around bad day. Well, I'm walking through the office a second ago, and I smelled something, and I stopped, and I said, I smell something here. And I waved at one of my guys. I said, come over here. I was like, you smell? He's like, I said, it smells like crap. Like not crap, like crap.
Right. Doo-doo.
And then we look to the right, and somebody is microwaving their lunch right there in the microwave. And I said, sorry. Anyway, that was my last story.
Hey, I walked into my office over in Athens one day last year, and the only way I know to describe this was the entire office. As I opened the door, because I take a lot of pride in how our offices smell. You know, you want it to smell like...
That's important.
Yeah,
it is.
You know, Otis Spunkmeyer cookies or, some kind of smell that when people walk in, they're like, man, that smells great. I love the way that smells. I open the door, I take one step in, and the only way I know how to describe it is the office smelled like foot and ass. That's the only way I know how to describe it. It smelled awful.
There's the title of the episode.
Right there.
Foot and ass.
I walk in and I go to the receptionist desk, which there's another person sitting behind her, and I said, guys, can you tell me why our office smells like foot and ass right now? Same thing. Somebody had like taken leftover curry and rice or something and microwaved it, and it took me all afternoon. I had to open up all the doors on the perimeter of our building to get it out. I bet you Justin knows the answer to this question. Do you know what smell has been, because health and life guys like know this kind of stuff. Do you know? Because it's so hard to sell that stuff.
You got to go into some rough places.
You have to know all the tricks, right? Do you know what smell has been scientifically proven to make people buy the most? Dude, please state your answer in the form of a question.
Ooh. I know some things like this, like the color of a grocery store floor being red puts people, it makes people hungry, stuff like that. The smell itself, to just buying in general. What is?
You want to guess, or do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go because I feel like maybe I've heard
Lavender.
it. Lavender.
Lavender has been proven to make people buy more life insurance than other smells.
Said.
So go get you a lavender candle.
And spend more money at a strip club.
Yeah.
That's why all those girls have like sugar, lavender, and vanilla on.
Is that why they named themselves Lavender? I don't think it works the same way.
Now to the main stage, Destiny Lavender. Destiny Lavender to the main stage. Guys, we are proud to be here. It is a big day for me. It's a big day for Bradley. And I'm just proud to have a boy from Tupelo, Mississippi that's done big on this podcast. And Justin, let me just go ahead and break this down for you. Our job today is to move the ball one step forward to greatness for 250,000 insurance agents. No pressure. So let's get into that. Hey, let's start with getting in my DeLorean and going back to those days in the Marine Corps when you got out in 2013 and threw your boots over the power line as you were leaving. Tell me.
All right, so let's see. I joined the Marine Corps at 18, and I was an aviation guy. I was an air winger. I was an aviation operations guy. So I worked on different aircraft. I wasn't specific to one frame. I was with C-130s. I've been F-18 squadrons. I've been with C-12 squadrons like VIP transport. I've been to Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar, Ireland, Australia, Japan, all over the south, all over the West Pac area. So I did get to travel a lot. I had a good service record, as far as getting to go places and not getting too jacked up. So I don't have anything bad to say about my time. But about 6-7 years in, I had a couple of kids, and I was married, and it just wasn't the life to raise kids in, because I was gone all the time, and your kids will forget who the hell you are when you're gone for a little bit. So I decided I wanted to get out, and I wasn't going to make it a career. And you guys know, if you stay in past 10 years, you're pretty much stupid not to just go ahead and do the other 10 and retire. So at 8 years, I got out, because that's about the last time you can make a good educated decision to get out.
Right.
And my dad was an insurance agent. Since and I saw him go through a little bit of a climb in it, and be able to provide a good life for himself later on. We went from when I was a kid. He was a carpet salesman at Sears when I was about 10, to by the time I graduated high school, he had put on a swimming pool, and we could buy new cars, so I saw that transformation. So I already had a good feel that the insurance industry rewarded people that worked hard. Now, he worked really hard. I mean, he was working all the time, but I saw it work and take you from poverty to middle class. And so I had a good idea that, hey, I don't have a master's degree. I'm not a doctor. I'm not, a lawyer. I got a good service record, an honorable discharge, and the spirit to work hard. And so I thought it'd be a good industry for me to get into. And he had focused a little bit in the the Medicare supplement arena. So I got out and started buying direct mail leads, like I was saying, and going out and knocking on the door saying, did you fill out this card? I want to save you money on your Medicare supplement. And I was all clean shaved, wearing my Nun Bush penny loafer shoes with my slacks all dressed up, and trying to get in the door like a Bible salesman. And it worked. That worked. I didn't do bad doing that. But as I was doing it, I loathed the amount of activity I was having to put in just to get that 3, 4, 5 sales a week. And I was seeing people do big stuff on the internet, in all kinds of different industries, real estate, and direct-to-consumer, Shopify style sales, all that kind of stuff. And my grandmother, who was probably 80 at the time, she was on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
She was on there more than I was.
Right.
And so everybody else telling me Facebook was a waste of time, and I decided it wasn't, and just started. I'm the kind of guy too. I don't know if y'all know these kind of guys, but you'll buy a course on how to do something, but you never even you watch about 3 minutes of the course and you're like, I got it, and then I just start trial and error in it, because I'm gonna learn the hard way.
I've been hit with, and I don't want this to go into like a super granular social media discussion because we've done that over and over.
Yeah.
But I've gotten that objection from my peers before.
Yeah.
And to that I say, you know how a 35-year-old scrolls on Facebook? Like this.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling on my phone very rapidly.
Right.
You know how a 60, 70-year-old scrolls on Facebook? 1,
Yeah.
2,
Yep.
3.
Yeah.
So in a way, and I would bet you a 60, 70, 80-year-old's more apt to click on an offer on social media than somebody's 25 and can tell it's an ad. No offense to anybody.
No.
Hey Bradley.
I got
Hey
you.
Bradley. Tell me if I'm wrong about this, but wasn't the time that Justin started doing this kind of coinciding with the time that Facebook aged up?
What year was it?
With that age group?
What year was it?
2014, 15, 16?
I would say so, yeah, absolutely. That was around the time my mom got an account.
Yeah, there was some serendipity there, because just about the time that you saw your grandmother getting on there and doing that,
Yeah.
I remember my mom getting on Facebook around 2016, 2015, somewhere in that. So I think there was just some timing part of that too.
Yeah. Well, what happened? You started getting on there, and this is pre-lead ads platform, which
Right.
we hit it big with that too. But this is back when you would just put up. I would literally just go on there and write about a policy. Hey, we got a policy with X dental benefit. You can use this one at any dentist. There's no network. I'd hit kind of like some highlights, and then I wouldn't boost it. You'd go in. I would listen to this guy, The Art of Paid Traffic. He's a podcaster. He's more of a digital marketing guy. I can't remember his name. Rick Mulready. But anyway, he had a thing. I would just listen to his podcast, honestly, and he was saying to run these post engagement ads, and I'd run post engagement to that elderly, group, and they would just like bombard me with comments, and I'd just be in the comments talking to all of them. And then you get them you'd message them and start messaging them and communicating. And it's different than it is now, but you just get them dialoguing. And I went from writing 3, 4, 5 policies a week, driving, 50, 60 miles one direction, 50 miles the other direction. And all of a sudden I'm writing, 25, 30 policies a week, not going hardly anywhere.
And Justin, isn't there a ton of regulation around Medicare and what you can talk about and how you can advertise?
Yeah, so there's 2 different avenues on Medicare. You got your Medicare supplement side and your Medicare Advantage side, and those are your 2 core products. Of course, there's other cross-selling products like ancillary benefits, like cancer and dental and all that kind of stuff. But if you're advertising Medicare Advantage, there's a lot more stipulation on how you can and can't advertise, because those plans replace your Medicare while you're on them. So it's a little bit more, you got to be careful.
Governmental stuff.
But on the Medicare supplement side, it's really not hardly any regulation, because that plan just supplements your Medicare, so it does nothing to disrupt your actual coverage. We sell both now. At the time when I was early on in, I wasn't really selling any Medicare Advantage. I was all going Med Sup, and so I was looking for like the lower middle and middle class people. I wasn't looking for the like really poor group, and I wasn't looking for the super wealthy group, because they don't care to save as much money. So, but that middle class group and lower middle class, that's what I was going after, and there was a ton of that out there. Now on Medicare Advantage, we still advertise Medicare Advantage. We just try to keep it really general and get them to reach out to us. Because once they reach out to you about it, it's a little easier to deal with.
Justin,
Yeah, buddy.
talk to me about, okay, we got to 2018. You've started doing really well. I think you would agree. You probably got your sea legs under you around 2018. Is that right? 2017, 2018?
Yeah, right there in the annual enrollment period of 2017, you know, I started, you know, the renewals of all that traction really started mounting, and I started feeling like, man, I've, you know, quote unquote made it, which is, you know, is a moving target for most aggressive people in life. But I thought I'm going to be successful in it because I got enough renewal and residual income to, you know, buy things I didn't think I could ever buy before. And then, you know, right then in 2018, around March, is when I started the Facebook group, Medicare Gurus, that's kind of brought me into the agent space more as a Medicare mentor.
So talk to our agents here about how you went from where you were in 2018 to today. You've got 2 offices, you've got them fully staffed, you've got good people working for you. What was that transition like from, you know, we talk a lot on here about, I had an old agent tell me one time, he said, Scott, you got 2 choices. You either work in the business or you can work on the business, one of the two. It's hard to do both. It's hard to bang the street and sell insurance every day and work on your business. Not saying it's not possible. I know agents that do it, but they do have a lot of support staff to help them. Well, how did you make this transition to build a team, have 2 offices? What were some of your keys to doing that?
So there's a lot of tough transition there, because as you are writing all the applications, you know, in the beginning, everybody wants to talk to you, and so you're having to forcibly remove yourself from the equation more and more over time, from that direct to consumer side of it, you know, and start to hire in and trust people. And I think you just have to delegate. You had to come to the realization that just because I don't believe somebody will do the exact quality job that I will, that I can hire enough of them and I can train them to do as close enough of a job where I'm going to be better off in the long run having people giving, you know, even if they're at 90% of what I feel like my capability is, that's still, you know, 90% replicably, whereas me as 100% is just 1. You know, I can only do so much. And so, I mean, it's a huge thing to hire people and begin to see that those activities replicated. And I don't think that you can really grasp, just like renewals in P&C or Medicare. A lot of times when people are coming into the business, I say it's hard for you to really understand the power of the renewal until you're several years in and you start to feel the wave of what you were doing early on the first couple of years. It's the same thing with hiring people. It's hard to really, for me to tell somebody what the effect of having other people on your team is until you've had them for a while. And then you start to see that your entire activity flow, I call our team as like our apparatus or our net. So if I'm on a fishing boat and I got a big net that I'm catching stuff with, I'm constantly having to grow that net. And it seems like the bigger I get my net, the more fish there are. So I keep having to grow one to work the other. And, part of that's just continuing to, work the leads, work the people, work the book, ask for referrals, take care of your customers, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And advertising, of course, advertising is like gasoline on that fire. But I don't know, I just think that there's a lot of business out there in every niche. I'm not the guy that's going to tell everybody Medicare is the only way to do it. Medicare, P&C, life, it's all good. And there's a lot of business to be had for people that are willing to work hard and build a team and do the right thing the right way and spend some money. It's going to cost some money to get some people to call you.
Is that a 2 Comma Club thing on behind you?
Yeah, it's my 2 Comma Club.
Tell us about that.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know anybody with a 2 Comma Club award.
Yeah, that's my my Medicare Gurus one. Actually, that one's from, we do course and consulting for Medicare agents, and we recruit, but and we're doing that more now. But early on, I wasn't heavily recruiting. I just didn't have the time to, spend a fortune of my time writing or mentoring agents one-on-one. Now that we've beefed up our staff, we're able to do that more. But back in the day, I said, well, I still want to help people, and there's a lot of people asking me for help. So I did start creating courses. And a couple of those courses collectively did over $1 million in revenue through ClickFunnels. So
Cool.
that was there's a big demand for the information.
So are you guys writing P&C business too? Or give me the breakdown of your agency, how that works.
So we did start a P&C side. It's very new. We've probably written, and I'm not, so at this point I'm, puppet master. So I had somebody else start it within the office who works for us. And she has probably written 25 P&C policies to date. But we really got, into it about October or November. And I haven't really gone after my book yet because I kind of wanted her to get some confidence in it. And I'm even considering hiring a captive agent from somewhere else with some experience. Right. And now that I have it kind of set up, bring them over and have them help her take it off,
And let me guess, that's a not necessarily a money making. I mean, obviously you're going to make money, but it's a way for you to control that process and that client experience where they don't have to deal with somebody else for their P&C.
Yeah, we were trying to refer a lot to other P&C agents locally, and I just wasn't feeling a lot of reciprocal love on the referrals, or the referrals I was getting weren't great. And lifetime residual adds up. We don't need the money right now, but if I can turn it into a long-term revenue stream, as keeping them in-house.
Here's what you got. You got an acre of diamonds at your feet, right? Your sales proposition to your people that are already on your books for your Medicare products are, hey, would you like to just have one agent to deal with your insurance needs? To me, I'll make that phone call for you all day long. Give me your 3,000 Medicare people, and I'll sell 60% of them just on, hey guys, listen.
Convenient.
You don't want to deal with 5 different insurance agents about 5 different. Just bring all your stuff over here and let's just write it and be done with it.
And most of them seem to be with as we talk to them, with captive carriers, or most of them aren't with independent brokers. It's crazy. It's so many of them around here. Farm Bureau has a ton of them, and they're not getting like the best rate or anything. They've just been there for a long time. And these Medicare clients, the way I see it, it was what we seem to be running into with it is we're in a rural area. So some of these houses are hard to figure out there in the middle of nowhere. But then, they actually are decent little premiums because, most of these people are homeowners. They're, they've paid their house off. They're homeowners. They normally have 2 cars. And some of them even will be people that own a couple of rental properties and stuff like that. But it's none of our clients, very few of them are like your whales. But we got a lot of middle class, solid, stable clients, and they pay their premiums on bank draft, and they pay their premium. Like they're not, it's the greatest generation, they believe in paying their bills. So in some ways it's a really good, group. And honestly, the elderly kind of generation or senior citizen generation, it seems like on the P&C side has been a group that people hadn't really gone after that much. I have seen a commercial lately, a TV commercial. It's some kind of national campaign where they're going after P&C for elderly, and they have like a spin on it. But that's like the first time I've ever seen it.
Well, and it's one of those things too, I look at it like I look at, some of these real estate companies that are now selling insurance. And, as insurance agents, we like to, not we, but some insurance agents like to bash them. And granted, there's tons of problems with a big national firm, real estate firm also selling insurance. But the reason they're doing that is because insurance agents that they're working with are consistently dropping the ball, and they're trying to control that process, and they're trying to be that one-stop shop.
Yeah.
And so I kind of look at that, like you said, agents around you were dropping the ball. So you have to add that service so you can control that process,
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's, for us, like, the money is like a secondary note on that concept, because I am trying to keep them in house. I'm keeping my retention higher, and then maybe I get in the door on the P&C down the road with some of them that I wasn't getting in for Medicare, and then I find the Medicare. So I feel like it just kind of all feeds the mothership in the long run. But
I know a lot of independent agents in other states. You don't see this as much in Alabama because Blue Cross and Blue Shield over here is just an 800-pound gorilla. You either have it or you don't. That's kind of how things go here.
Blue Cross in Alabama is big, because we do a little bit in Alabama just because we're so close to the border.
Right.
But Blue Cross of Alabama definitely is, more dominant in Alabama than most states' Blue Cross programs are.
Right.
In Mississippi, for instance, Blue Cross is, once people get off of group coverage and go on Medicare, Blue Cross really isn't much of a player here.
Right.
But in Alabama, it is the player. So.
Well, what I was going to say is I see agents, and I know agents in other parts of the U.S. that bring clients in on the P&C side by selling them either Medicare products or health insurance products. That's why they called.
Yeah.
And then they get them in the office to talk about those two things. And that always leads to, hey, by the way, would you like for us to go ahead and quote your home and auto insurance too while you're here?
Yeah.
I see that quite often. You don't see that as much here in the state of Alabama as you do in other states.
Yeah. Well, that's the, bringing them in on the pain point. I have talked to, I have friends locally that were like P&C guys, State Farm agents and things. And they always talk to me about marketing, because we've done a good job on marketing. And of course, they're hogtied with corporate stuff with marketing. But when I'm talking to them, I'm like, you got to identify a pain point and go after these pain points that people, for Medicare, it's just an easy identifiable pain point. They're retiring, they're turning 65, and all of a sudden their health coverage changes for the first time in maybe 40 years. And so that's a big pain point. And with P&C, there's different ones, but I don't know if there's any as blatant as that 65th birthday. With P&C, they'll go after like teenage drivers, but that's harder to identify when that happens, because it's different ages for different people. And so there's P&C probably is a tougher sale. So like what you're tougher in some ways. I mean, everything's tough in different ways. But if you can identify that pain point and get in front of them for turning 65, help them with the Medicare, and then cross-sell the P&C, you already got them on the hook, So
Right. So what is the hardest part? Because I would say 99% of the agents listening to this right now have. I think people discount confidence, product knowledge. But product knowledge that can be transferred into telling it to my 13-year-old, and that visualization and just that overall psychology of sales to people. I think people really discount that. And what I find among most associate agents is they do things one way for 15, 20, 30 years, and they never try doing anything in a different way that if they tried it that way, maybe instead of selling $50,000 a month in premium, maybe they'd sell $100,000 a month in premium. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you ever find too, this is something that I've found in a sales machine, when you're dealing with agents, sometimes you'll have an agent that's doing something and he's hitting a home run. Like he's selling and he's cross-selling. And then it's like they change something and it stopped selling so well.
Right.
Sitting with just as many people, but they quit cross-selling as much. And it's like they've gotten out of that out of something, you know what I mean? So it's like
The
almost
groove,
like the
the
reverse
groove.
to what you said. Like they'll have something down and then they'll try something else and they'll screw it up too.
I think it's a complacency. I think it's a complacency that could also be confused with laziness, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you guys one way to think of that too. It could be complacency. That's a pretty obvious one when you say, well, Clint, you only sold $25,000 in premium this month and you're upset and you think you're never going to sell a policy again. Remember this, 1 week last month you went on vacation. 1 week last month your wife had some medical issue and you took off for 3 days. You only worked 13 days in the month of December, and now you expect to sell $50,000 or $100,000 of insurance or have that commission in January. That ain't how this works. That ain't how this works.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot. And I always think about that when one of my agents take a week on vacation or a 2-week honeymoon. And I think, okay, well, go ahead and take it, but get ready. Because March is going to be here before you know it, and you ain't going to have shit on your damn sales tracker because you've been taking off so much.
It's like a water hose, and all of a sudden you're just going along the water hose, and at some point if you put a damn kink in it, you're gonna have a spurt of no water. But we see that, and and then they're kind of rusty too when you take off some time. Which I mean I get it. Everybody's got to take off some time eventually, especially if you're married. But we're polishing that kind of concept up right now, where we come back and everybody's rusty, and like what's the best way to come back from the holiday. And what I find is people got to get on the phone real quick with people and start talking to people again, because you got to dust the it doesn't take but a week or two to get rusty with talking to people in sales too.
and to that point, the example I was going to give earlier is it's like a 300 hitter in Major League Baseball. They do one thing different. Maybe they're not putting the bat exactly where it was, and you can see it in basketball too with shooters. They do, one of their mechanics is off, and it causes them to miss shots, or it causes that hitter to strike out instead of hitting the ball, and they have to kind of work through that. But I think every single person listening to this podcast right now has insecurities. We all have insecurities about different things. And sometimes I think that something happens in a sales process. Either they lose a sale, or something doesn't go the way they want it to, or somebody gets mad about something. This ain't what you told me it was going to be. And I think that insecurity kind of rears its ugly head up, and then it shakes their confidence. And the worst thing you can be in sales is not confident. I see that in my people from time to time, where either something will happen and it'll shake their confidence a little bit, and that gets reflected in them trying to sell moving forward, because that little thing in their head, it's just different.
A lot of times it's just enough to throw them off. So they don't bring things up that they were bringing up before, because I
That's right.
Tell they were bringing it up half the damn battle. A lot of people think like we got to be some kind of master salesman, but I've found that the people that bring it up sell it sometimes.
So I've been reading Justin. I've been reading these books on hypnosis.
Yeah.
Hypnosis.
Of course you have.
Like the Marshall Silver stuff.
Yeah. Right. And so I've been reading these books on hypnosis, and I've been watching YouTube videos on hypnosis. Now, there's different ways to hypnotize somebody. But to a person, every hypnotist that I have studied so far says rule number 1 to hypnotize somebody is confidence. Your voice has to echo confidence when you talk to someone. That is rule number 1. That never changes no matter who you're listening to that is a certified hypnotist. They will say your voice has to have confidence in it. And there's something to that related to sales. And people are like dogs. They can smell fear, and they can kind of smell a lot of times, unless you're a damn narcissistic, damn psychopath. And I have some friends that are like that. They can talk about brain surgery. They can talk about construction. They don't know shit about it, but they can talk about it. But most people can kind of recognize when you're bullshitting them. Yeah. So that's where that confidence plus the product knowledge and knowing your stuff. I tell you who's as good as anybody I've ever seen from a sales standpoint. I've never actually watched him conduct a sale, but I know he's good at it just based on his personality, is David Carruthers. If you've ever listened to David Carruthers on a podcast, on a webinar, on one of his killing commercial calls, he is one of the most extremely confident people I've ever heard. Now, part of that's personality. Part of that is he does have the knowledge. He knows what he knows. And I think that goes a long way when he's speaking to a client, either on the phone, prospect on the phone, or in person. Yeah. They definitely leave there, just like all these insurance agents that are joining Killing Commercial. They definitely think to themselves, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Well, I'm currently reading Chris Voss's book. Do you know Chris Voss?
Never split the difference.
Never split the difference. And I say I'm reading it. I'm listening to it on Audible. But
Audible, yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Chris,
3 times.
Chris is a former FBI negotiator, highly regarded as the best hostage negotiator in the world. And one of the things he talks about in that book is the late night radio DJ voice.
That's right.
The warm and soothing and syrupy sweet, as easing people's tensions and that sort of thing. And I think that comes with confidence. And you actually kind of took me back. I've seen a hypnotist in person, one of those like comedian hypnotists, and sat in the front row at Zany's in Nashville. Prayers up for Zany's. They actually had a truck drive through their comedy club a couple weeks ago. But and he when he would start hypnotizing, he'd put his hand on the mic like this, and he would be talking like that. And it would almost like suck you into his voice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that every insurance agent in America should be required reading or listening on Audible should be Never Split the Difference with Chris Voss, because there is so much of that book that could be that entire book could be translated into insurance sales.
My only critique is I wish Chris would have read the audiobook.
I would agree. The labeling, the mirroring, all the stuff that's in that book. And, he was the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI for when they had a bad one, he was the guy that they always brought in. But yeah, and I didn't mean to get off track, but I find the Medicare sale, I don't know if it's easier or harder. You might know more, you would know more about that than I would, because now you've got this P&C side to your business that you can compare and contrast with. You've been selling Medicare products for, 6, 7, 8 years. And so you'll be able at some point to be able to compare and say, okay, that sale's a harder sale than this sale.
Yeah. I think it's probably so far more difficult to beat rates on P&C sometimes than Medicare. It's almost like with Medicare, 95% of the time there's a good reason to change, and there might be a little bit less of a good reason to change on the P&C side so far. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that may be just we're too new to it to know, but it does seem like some of these people have good rates, and that pisses me off. Because I'm like, why aren't you paying too much?
Right.
We want you on our books.
Well, then it boils down to your agent that's selling P&C being able to, if they can get their hands on a deck page, tear that thing apart and make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. Because what we see a lot of times is, not a lot of times anymore, because we're an independent, we've got so many carriers now, but as a nationwide captive agency, we would win a lot of times just because we'd end up getting a deck page from somebody and we'd say, now wait a minute, you're telling me you're paying $200 less with what you got now. Well, you don't have this. You got a $5,000 deductible. You got this, and then they would say, "My God, I didn't know that," and we could win that way.
Yeah.
Rather than just trying to beat price, which is hard to do when you don't have a deck page, and nobody ever knows what their coverages are when you talk to them on the phone.
Yeah.
They act like they do, but they don't.
Yeah.
And I am pretty much everything I've ever done in insurance. I've been ridiculously young compared to my counterparts.
Yep.
When I was hired at Alpha, I was at that time, I believe, the youngest agent in the company. I was 23, and I get asked this a lot because we have a lot of younger agents that'll reach out to us from the podcast, and I would say probably 3 out of every 10 is dealing with some sort of age issue, like, oh, I'm young and I feel, da da da, and I tell everybody this, and some of them don't believe it, but it's 100% true, is that I have never once in my insurance career felt that my age was a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because since day one, and even more so early part of my career than now, but I made dang sure I knew my stuff. That was how I overcame that.
Yeah.
And you made it a mission. I made it my mission when I met with that client. I don't do this anymore because we've got a different deal now. But when I was first starting, I was suit and tie every day. Not saying you should do that, but I was suit and tie every day. I knew my stuff, and I would over prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to be self-aware as to where you are. And so I was telling my my little brother's selling with us now, and I was saying, like, I'm not a suit and tie guy, but if I'm 26 and I look really, really young, mm-hmm. and I'm trying to compensate for that at the time, I might do that. I might let me just dress up much more professionally to offset it. And the same thing, while now, sometimes I might rest on my experience level or the fact that a lot of the customers already know who I am from running commercials and things. And I won't even have to work as hard for the same sale, But back when I was younger and I was starting, I had this kind of preconceived notion, like, I'm going to be dealing with all these elderly people. They're going to be like, this is some young whippersnapper that doesn't know anything about this stuff. But I'd get them in front of me, and what I found out was there's two reasons that wasn't true. One is kind of funny. Some of them actually want a young agent, not an old agent, because they're afraid the old agent might die before them, and then they'd have to find a new insurance agent before they die, and they don't want to do that. And I've had them tell me that before.
Right.
And then the other reason was because I would get in front of them, and I would, like you said, just be really, explaining things in a way where they were like, wow, this guy really knows his crap. He knows what he's talking about. And then, they'd know you weren't an idiot, and it would work really well. And I think too, especially with older people, they're very impressed with sharp young people, because the media tells them all millennials are losers and they're all out, at anti-Trump rallies or whatever, burning the flag. And so when you do dress somewhat sharp, you actually know a skill and you can communicate with an older person, they're actually, you actually have a lower bar to pass than somebody who's 45 or 50, because those people, they expect to be grown up. When you're a kid, when you're 25, because I started at 26 in the insurance industry, and at 26, when I was out there, making my pitches, I felt like the bar was a little bit lower for me, because just by being a young guy, if you're a sharp young guy, the older generation, really likes that, because they don't think there's a lot of us.
You don't think if I got hired by Northwestern Mutual at 24 years old, the first thing I would do, before I did anything else, is I would have a suit and tie on every day, and I would grow a beard. Because a beard on a young guy at least takes you up 2 or 3, years. So if you're 24, it might make you look like you're 27 or 28.
Yeah.
Just like if I was going out to sell farm insurance tomorrow, which I could do, and I could make a damn bunch of money doing it, because those people love me. You don't think I wouldn't have a pair of Georgia boots and some Carhartts on when I walked out there and got out of my truck?
You got to know your audience, don't you? I mean,
man, all day long, baby.
We found out here pretty quickly because we weren't going after the the wealthy. We were going after the the middle class, the blue collar group, and you don't want to dress like a slob, but jeans and a collar shirt or jeans and a sweater. That was more up their alley than if I dressed up too sharp. Now, if I, like you said, if I was working at Northwestern Mutual or Modern Woodman, or if I got hired at a company like Alpha that had that corporate kind of, thing, I would probably go and dress the part and do their, play my cards right, early on. And I don't think when you're really young, being dressed really sharp is ever going to really hurt you. But if you get really comfortable with it and you have a whole lot of product knowledge and you dress decent, and you stay well groomed, or you don't look like a slob, and you talk to people like you know what you're talking about, sometimes you can come past that. I would find I'd be sitting with an older man who would be early on might be caught off guard by my age. I could just kind of feel it in their face.
Yeah.
And then we'd sit down and start talking, and as I got into the information, and he could figure out I know what I mean, I'd have him all the time tell me, man, you're really sharp, man. I'm glad I found you. You really know what you're talking about. And that always made me feel good and boost your confidence, and then you probably did better the next time. So I just think most people just have to get out there and communicate with people and find their footing, and you get confidence just by talking to more and more people.
Hey,
so
let me tell you something. I've been with you now for nearly an hour, and here's one thing I know about Justin. Based on your tone, your tonality, your body language, the way you carry yourself, just the way you look and dress, I bet old people ate you up with a biscuit.
I've always done pretty good with old people.
You know why? Let me tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because you look like everybody's grandson.
That's it. I'm the grandson.
You remind me of little Johnny.
That's what they used to tell me all the time. They say,
that's Barbara. Now that's Barbara's boy. Now his name's. Yeah.
They'd come in, it'd be a husband and wife, and she'd look over and she'd say, don't he look like Jesse?
Looks just like you.
Don't he look like Billy? They'd say, how old are you? And I'd say, at the time, like 26, 27. They're like, well, he's 35. Wow, you're even younger than him.
Yeah. I bet you they ate you up with a biscuit, boy. I can tell. So let's leave this podcast, leave these guys with something else they can take back with them and implement in their agency. What are you doing with all these people you're hiring right now? Because you're still in a hiring mode. How are you training all these people you got selling Medicare products for you right now?
So this is a constantly evolving thing, training and getting people going. We are trying to do 2 sales meetings a day. But I'm still very intimately involved right now in my kind of bullpen where they come to me with every question, and I'm become that more pivotal person where I'm constantly engaged in it. I also have all the calls recorded so I can go back and listen to stuff and drop in and kind of critique a little bit. But most of the time I'm just trying to get involved in it, asking them questions about their day, different things, and I'm friends with all of them, and these guys are my best friends. So, it's easy. I want to talk to them about it. They want to talk to me about it. And we try to create a culture where, I apologize to their wives all the time, but most of these guys would rather be at my office hanging out with me and selling insurance than at home. So we just try to create that kind of culture, and I think that it just makes people want to do better. And I'm very blessed that some of the agents that we hired early on are also really good at training others. They're very generous with their time. I've had one of the guys I hired, he actually came into insurance about the same time as me, but he was a final expense guy. He's real sharp. Another guy's had all kinds of different sales positions before, and then we brought him into insurance. But those guys help me a lot, train, and you get you get a culture of sales dudes around each other, and they just kind of geek out on sales and product knowledge. I mean, all day long. If you ever been around, if you're like in the military, I would hang out around pilots, and they would talk about. I was in aviation, but I didn't know what the hell they were talking about because I wasn't a pilot.
Right.
They could only hang out with pilots because they were always talking about ICAO codes and TNR and all this goofy crap that I didn't know what they were talking about. Medicare agents, it's like a whole breed. Insurance agents in general, I'm gonna associate better with other insurance agents because we can talk about marketing and sales and all that. But then you get me in a room full of Medicare agents, we can talk for hours about Medicare and training and sales and marketing and all that stuff, So anyway, we just create that culture, and everybody wants to learn more, so that's how we train. No, I don't think there's a great system, so I don't know if that's replicable. I just say create a good culture where people want to learn more and do better.
Hey, I'm gonna leave this podcast with a story.
Yes.
So when I was 16 years old, I grew up in a little town called Hamilton, Alabama. Dry county, surrounded by dry counties. Dry meaning they did not sell alcohol. Well, the closest place that you could buy alcohol was between Hamilton and Tupelo, Mississippi, and I believe it was called, is it Morville or Littleville?
Morville is a town.
Morville, Mississippi. It was about 30 minutes from my house. Now, folks, the reason I'm telling y'all this story is we've been talking about when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? So we're 16 years old. Well, my best friend was about 6'4", big redheaded boy. All of my friends from back home are all 6'4", 6'5", 6'3". When we walk in a place, it looks like football teams walking in. But he was the oldest.
We bed different.
We chose him because he was the oldest looking one of the 16-year-olds. So we all pile up in a Camaro, candy apple red Camaro, and we drive over to Morville. Now remember, we're 16 years old. And we get over to the parking lot at the gas station that sold beer, and I looked at him and I said, "Hey, put these Ray-Ban aviator sunglasses on. They'll make you look older." So he puts these Ray-Ban aviator sunglasses on and leaves the car running and goes into that beer store in Morville, Mississippi. And 5 minutes later, 16 years old, walks out with a case of Miller Lite, and it was the happiest day of our life. We had done bought beer at 16 years old, and we were going to go back to Hamilton and drink it. We were ecstatic.
In Morville, so that truck stop that you probably stopped at there, the gas station in Morville to buy it, my mother owned it for a while.
Are you shitting me?
No. She might have been the one selling you the beer.
Well, if we violated any beverage control laws over there about 1986, I apologize. But boy, we were some happy campers coming in when he walked out smiling with that damn case of Miller Lite in his hand.
Hey Justin, are you still in quarantine? I know you had a pretty rough bout with COVID recently, right?
No, I am out of it. I'm probably 2 weeks. 14 or 15 days out from my positive test, and I did have I had a rough bout with it. And look, I'm not a COVID, all I can say is China is on my bad side right now, but COVID really had its way with me. I ain't a shut the whole economy down kind of guy, but I will tell you that COVID didn't sit well with me. I'm the kind of guy, I never get the flu or anything like that. But I got this, and it was down for a couple of days. I'd start to come back up, and then it felt like I was coming back down again over and over again. So really only felt 100% back to normal for about 2 or 3 days at this point. So
I've got one account manager that came down with it last Monday, and she has almost been hospitalized twice, although now she's back to nearly normal. And she had the exact same symptoms, or she would feel terrible, need to go to the hospital, almost begging her husband to take her to the hospital, and then the next day she would feel,
like she's coming out of it.
yeah, 50% better. And then the next day it'd be back to, hey, I think I need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, it's a weird virus, man. I mean, that taste and smell thing with well, I had the fever and chills for a couple of days. Then I felt like I was getting better. Then I passed out and had to go to the ER. And then, because like an orthostatic blood pressure issue, I checked out. I didn't have any major things wrong. They had CAT scans, everything. Come home. Then I start feeling like I'm getting better again. Start doing some stuff, but I'm real winded. Then I'm telling you, there's a weird symptom towards the end where it was almost like an anxiety disorder or something, where it started making me feel like I really, I don't even know how to, like I was pissed off all the time. My mood was real messed up, and I can't I don't know. It couldn't have been anything. I've never felt like that. I'm not that guy. I don't have anxiety at all, and I know people that do. It sucks. I know it's a real thing. I don't have it, but I had it at the end of this, and I had it for a few days, like real bad. Like I was real pissed off, and my moods were changing, and I kept thinking, great, this thing has done some permanent nerve damage, and now this guy that has zero anxiety is going to come out of it a permanent, I'm going to have to go put on Klonopin or something. But thankfully, I mean, the last 2 or 3 days now, I've felt really good, and nothing will let you know how good you feel, like feeling like shit for a couple of weeks.
Right. It's kind of like when you get a brain freeze eating ice cream.
Oh yeah.
You feel so good right when it stops.
When it stops. Oh yeah. Sometimes it's like going and running a dang marathon. You need to know how that feels, just so you don't want to do it again.
Hey, here's what I've been telling our audience of 250,000 insurance agents. July 15th, we're pulling out of this. We're all going to have the vaccine. We're all going to be back to normal. You better tell your damn boys and girls selling Medicare, they better put their big girls and boys pants on July 15th and get ready to go to some people's houses and start selling some Medicare, because that's coming.
I want it. I'm positive on it. We're traveling. We're going to Scottsdale in a couple weeks. I got some guys actually this afternoon from Wilmington, North Carolina, that have traveled down here. We can't stay at home forever. I can't do it. Life ain't worth living if we act like that. So
absolutely. Well, I'm going to shut this thing down. Bradley, you got anything else before I let you go?
Nope.
All right, guys. Like I always say, rewards come from action, not discussion. We talked about a lot of cool things today. Hope you got something out of the podcast. Get your ass out from behind that desk, especially when July rolls around and everybody's back watching ball games and going to the park and eating in restaurants and going to movies and doing all the things that we were doing pre-COVID. We just ordered in our agency some displays for trade shows and things like that, because that's how sure I am that this thing's going to get back to normal. I want to thank Justin Brock for being with us today, the Medicare Guru, and he is a great American, and I just want to say thank you so much for being on here, Justin. Remember this, guys, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk, go out and sell insurance, make money for your family, for your wife, for your kids' college fund, and go make money for your parents who are struggling today and need help. Go do it. Write good business for the agencies that you represent, and write good business for the companies that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Justin.
Guys, you are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love you too very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you.